on TexAgsRadio. Right here on Sports Radio 1150, The Zone.
I made my mistakes. I see my heart cave in. I got my scars. I've been to hell and back again. Going for the blue sky.
It's 9:05. Welcome back. Hour 2 of the program, live inside the Lear Insurance Studios on a Wednesday morning. TexAgs Radio, presented by Scott & White Healthcare, and it's our TV simulcast hour each and every middle hour of each and every weekday on CW8 Aggieland. We certainly appreciate KBTX's involvement in this radio program. 8 to 11, we kick off 10 hours live and local each weekday on Sports Radio 1150 The Zone. Our phone number is 693-1150, 693-1150. Boy, do you look excited on television. They're like, hey, wait, there's never a guy to Gabe's, would it be my right? There's never a guy to Gabe's right, our left.
Screen left, your right.
Screen left, my right. Yeah, all the true terms. But there he is, everybody. Clay Taylor.
Kip Dynamite.
Kip Dynamite himself, one of the co-aces of the TexAgs production team. Far right side of the desk, Andrew Cagle. You might know him as Yasser Arafat. Hello, Cagle. How you doing, man? Another good co-ace. So let's put it this way: if Clay Taylor is Michael Waka, then Andrew Cagle's Ross Stripling. And I said that yesterday, and Cagle goes, "I don't know who Ross Stripling is, but I've heard of Michael Waka."
Hey, I grew up an Astros fan, so don't blame me for maybe not paying attention to the MLB the past few years.
Epic fail.
But you're an Aggie, Cagle, and you went to school at the same time Ross Stripling went to school.
Listen, he's a filmmaker. Leave him alone. And joining us, the man in the middle, an Englishman. Before returning back to the homeland, he's spent 2 months here living in Aggieland and figuring it out. Aggie football as he knows it. Josh Perry, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to this. First off, you guys are doing a video feature on Josh. Kind of take us through what I believe that's going to be released tomorrow. The storyline behind that. We'll go ahead and get that rolling here, and then we'll get into Josh's story.
Yeah, well, the video, it's going to come out tomorrow. Clay and I are working on that. We shot it with Josh last Friday. I'm going to basically just kind of, we're calling it an Englishman's Guide to Aggie Football. And it basically has some segments, and Josh is sharing kind of his thoughts and his insight, perspective, kind of as an outsider, on Aggie football. And so it just kind of gives a little humorous take, but also just kind of some good bits from somebody who's not just outside of the Aggie sphere, but outside of Americas too. So I think it's going to be fun. I think everyone's going to enjoy it. We enjoyed making it.
Now, Josh is writing a book. You got a title of this book yet?
I'm keeping that close to my chest at the moment.
Okay.
Keeping it close, yeah.
They pay me $1 a day to ask these questions. You know what I'm saying? Got to try to figure that out. Josh, take us through your experience these last 2 months. We'll get into the genesis, how the idea was hatched. But first off, how have you enjoyed yourself, man? The last couple of months.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a cliche, but it was a once in a lifetime experience, and it's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've only really sort of reflected on it recently because I'm going home soon, and you sort of look back and you think, yeah, it's been absolutely unreal. And last night I went to the Silver Taps tradition, and that is really where it hit home that I'm so proud that I came out here and told the story, and because it's just so unique. The place is just you just walk around and it's just steeped in tradition, and everything about it just blows you away. And so last night, sort of the penny dropped, and you just really thought, I really thought, like, I made a right call. By coming here, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting that, Josh is from practically a world away. We speak the same language, but there's so many cultural gaps. But everything about Texas A&M and everything about Aggieland seems to have gotten in his blood. And I consider him as much of an Aggie as a lot of my friends who went to school here, just because of how proud he is to be associated with the university in any minute way at all. So I think that's a pretty cool aspect of this whole deal. Is I think that we've gained another maroon-blooded Aggie for life, is what I think.
You feel that, Josh? Go ahead and hug that mic a little more there, buddy.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. I mean, when I first came out here and started writing about it and came up with the idea, I wanted to more or less come as a partial onlooker and tell the story and just basically say what I see. But that sort of transpired into the fact that you just have to walk around, be at Carl Field for the first game I was there. It's just a bug that you just can't shake off. You just feel so into it. And as soon as that first game that I attended, I was like, this place is magic. This is magical. And from then on, I was essentially hooked. And obviously, I wanted to stay partial, but you just can't. I wish I could have, but it gets in your blood, as you say. And that's what's hit me the hardest, really. I mean, if you had told me before I came out here that I'd be so affectionate to the place, or I'd be so gutted. Like when we lost the Alabama game and the Auburn games, I was just sat there, just completely destroyed. I was really upset, and I thought, if you told me that a few weeks before coming out here, that I'd be that moved by it and that distraught, I suppose, I would have laughed at you, because I would have thought there's no way that I'd be able to have that emotional attachment somewhere only after just a couple of months. So that's what's hit me hit me the hardest about it, really, is that it's really infectious and maroon for life, absolutely.
Is there anything back home that sort of compares with the mystique, pageantry, and tradition of Kyle Field and just Aggie land in general?
Absolutely nothing, and that's exactly what makes it so unique, and that's why I'm so happy that I've been able to tell the story, because college football is very alien to English people. No one can really understand it. We have nothing like it. There's nothing that you can even compare it to back home. For example, my university that I attended to, so we would
Where
have,
was that?
Southampton.
Okay.
So we would have teams, soccer teams, tennis teams, similar to here, but there's just no interest in them. I mean, our first team soccer team, for example, there'd be like 4 men and a dog turn up to watch the game.
That dog was into it, though.
Yeah, the dog is probably the biggest fan. So yeah, it's incomprehensible. You can't get your head around it, and that's exactly why I was so intrigued with it and wanted to come out and experience it for myself.
Kegel, what do you got for Josh?
I think it'd be interesting if you kind of shared with viewers and listeners a little bit about one, how you discovered kind of college football after American football, and then A&M particularly, because you didn't know that it was going to be A&M at first, that you were going to come and cover.
Sure. I mean, how I even got into American football is quite a long story. Basically, my parents, they moved out here to Pittsburgh. And
Pittsburgh, Texas, lovely place. Oh no,
not quite. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so when they moved out there, I went to go and visit them a couple of times, and that place is crazy about football, American football, and it was really infectious. Everyone was walking around the streets with something to do with the Steelers. The Steelers logo was all around it, and I was just like, I want a slice of that. I mean, I didn't particularly really understand the sport or anything, but I went to a couple of games, and I was just taken aback by it, with the whole atmosphere and just what the NFL is. And so that's first how NFL got on the map, so to speak. And from then on, I was just addicted to it. Every minute of the day, I was reading up on football and trying to just basically catch up with everyone else, with the history of the sport and everything. And that spread to college football, because people were like, well, if you like NFL, you're going to love college football, because that is really the authentic and where it all started and the breeding ground, so to speak. So I started watching college football, and my first experience of it was so the first week of last season. And A&M's game was abandoned, so they weren't actually on. So I watched a round of games of the college season the first week last year, and none of the teams really appealed to me. It was a case of I could. It was interesting what was going on, the pageantry, the marching band. Like, I'd never seen anything like that before, and I thought no team really stood out for me, I suppose. Nothing really. Everything sort of seemed so-so. But the next week was when A&M got on my radar. It was their first game, and it was college game day, and we get that over in England on ESPN Europe. So yeah, they carried that game, and what can I say? I mean, all the analysts before the game were saying, you know what, this team will do well to win a couple of games in the SEC this year. And so I was only sitting down and expecting a bit of a blowout. I thought, I'll watch the first quarter and see where it goes from that. And well, everyone knows what happened that day. Johnny's coming out party, pretty much, and I was just sat there, and it was just this place called Carl Field that they kept showing shots of the crowd going like doing the swaying and everything, and I was like, this place is, compared to what I saw the week before, I was like, this is special. If this is what college football is, then I want a slice of that. And like the NFL, the next Monday, I wanted to know as much as possible about this place, College Station, Texas A&M, and from then on, I suppose just watching Johnny do his thing for 5-10 minutes just completely like stole my heart, so to speak. So I was just hooked, and it was so exciting, and watching him do his thing. I mean, everyone knows what it's like. It's fantastic.
Commerce National Bank inbox is 229-1939. Some questions coming in for English Aggie. You can find him on TexAgs English Aggie. You can check out his blog, footballosophy.com. Can't believe he took that URL. That's good stuff. Footballosophy.com. At Gig'em Nation on Twitter. His name is Josh Perry, an author, and he's writing a book on Texas A&M football. From this from the Commerce National Bank inbox, amazing. Josh just said when we lost to Alabama and Auburn, you can tell he's a red-ass Aggie. I get it. Josh is red-ass Canada Matt. Now, Canada Matt's been on our program, too. Also not an Aggie, per se, but an Aggie. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. All right, it's 9:21. Welcome back. Sports Radio 1150 The Zone. We're live from the Lear Insurance Studios with Josh Perry, author from England, writing a book on Aggie football. Got this text. I think the chap is running a bit on you. He's probably from Odessa. Out with it, Perry.
Oh, what can I say? I mean, I can show you my passport if you want. It's legit. It's legit, I promise.
We don't need to see it. We don't believe you're from England, but that's okay. This is fun. All right, Andrew Cagle, Clay Taylor's here with us, the production co-aces, and Josh Perry, again, an author, writing a book on Aggie football. Okay, 693-1150 on the phones. Let's take a quick one from Philip, and we'll get back into this story. Philip, how are you doing this morning?
Real good. Josh, I'm going to forgive you for not mentioning rugby football. I guess you did not play in England.
Did you play rugby, Josh?
I can't say I did, which is ironic because you would think, because I like American football, that I'd probably like rugby. But rugby was something that I never really got into. It's more of a sport for more like a public schoolboy sort of sport, and I was always a soccer man myself.
Well, I'm an old person. I played rugby here. I'm retired. My family played rugby. I've had kids play at higher level on the U.S. level. Can I just make a couple of points or suggestions about your book?
Sure.
In 2011, a big scrum, Hal K. wrote about, say, football. If you read that book by John Miller, you'll hear no mention of rugby football, and it played a key role at the turn of the century when they were going to stop football.
Okay.
Football killed 15 people one year early at the turn of the century.
Yep.
My point is, rugby played an integral part. It's a great sport. We have it here in town, by the way. And the rugby tackle definition would, in the future, help this thing we're going through on the vicious tackle, the people trying to take one another's heads off. If people would tackle like men, like it's described in rugby football, where you have to try to grasp the player, I believe that some of our penalties and some of our injuries would subside.
All right. Thank you, Philip, on the Mac Resource Computers Hotline, 693-1150. Let's jump back into this story. So when you made the decision to go to Texas A&M and to go to College Station, obviously you did your research, but how'd you work everything out logistically, knowing that you were going to spend 2 months and 2 months only just immersing yourself in Aggie land?
Good question. I mean, it was, once I had the idea in place, it was then, absolutely, it's just looking about what was possible, looking at flights. Obviously, you can't fly from England straight to College Station. Wish you could. It would be a lot easier. But so it was just mapping everything out, and it was something I've never really done before. So it was all quite alien to me. So it started basically with just getting the dates together, looking at the schedule. The schedule worked out really well for me because it was a case of 4 home games in one chunk, and then I was able to sort of nip home for a little while and sort out everything there, and then nip back for the next load of games. So that worked out really well. So I had that base to work on, and then it was obviously a case of looking at accommodation and finding somewhere that I'm on a pretty modest budget, so to speak. So it was a case of trying to find somewhere in a location that is that's near the campus and near everything. So and wanting to still be part of the atmosphere around the place, and so that's what it stemmed from, and luckily it all sort of came together nicely.
Josh, what are some of the biggest cultural differences that you've had to overcome? One of the interesting things is that you've got to walk everywhere because, like you said, you're on a pretty tight budget. And so tell us about some of the instances of people giving you heck for walking around, and then just some other cultural differences in general being here in Texas.
It's ironic that question comes from you, Clay, with the walking. A good story. Well, yeah, I mean, when you're walking around, especially with the heat, it's hard to take. When I first came here, it was like 100 degrees, and I was just walking up and down Texas Avenue, George Bush, and it takes it out of you. But I'm quite thankful for it at the same time, because it means I can live a lavish lifestyle and eat all the great American food, because I now can walk it off afterwards. So, but yeah, you get people when I'm walking down Texas Avenue up and down all day. You get people slowing their cars down, rolling their windows down, and shouting things like "Walking sucks" and "Walking's for losers, man." There's my American accent. So I apologise to everyone for that. And so yeah, you're walking across the pavement or sidewalk or whatever you want to call it, and people don't like walkers, and I've never experienced that, and it was quite funny. And a good story with Clay is that when I first came to the TexAgs studio, it was a day where the rain was pouring down, and it was like rain I'd never seen. And when I left here, it had stopped, and Andrew offered me a lift home, and he said, I'll take you back if you want. I was like, nah, the rain stopped, it's fine, I'll stroll back. So I got about halfway back, and the heavens just opened again, and it was like having a bathtub just poured over your head, just non-stop for about 20-25 minutes. And I was walking along, and I was so drenched, all my clothes were just like sapping off. And I had my laptop and everything, and I was getting really scared. It was all flooding, and I was just completely drenched. So I was walking along, and it came to like a side street where cars would pull into. And I was thinking, now I'm not, if there was ever a time I'm not in the mood for someone to give me some jip or abuse about walking, this was the moment. And as I walked across this side street, I noticed this car coming towards me, and he started honking his horn, and I was like, are you actually serious? I turned around to just say, look, seriously, I'm absolutely drenched in water, and now you're bringing the heat. And it was actually Clay, and he came to my rescue and
Nice.
picked me up. So
Attaboy.
I felt very awkward after turning around and just about to give him some volleys.
He gave me the go to hell look, and
yeah.
I was just like, hey man, hop in. come
Kegel,
on.
did he just say jip? I've never heard of that before. All right, go ahead. What you got?
Well, while we're talking about cultural differences, to me, language is kind of an interesting.
There you go.
I'm sure there's been some communication gaps in miscommunication experiences. Why don't you share a few of your favorites? From your
Absolutely. I mean, it happens every day, and it was really interesting the first few days I'd come here. It's even as simple as going into a restaurant, and they'll go like, howdy. I'm not going to use the American accent again, by the way. They'll go like, howdy, how are you doing today? And I would just respond back just naturally, like, yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. How are you? And they, as soon as you say that, they sort of just like step back, and they're like, well, that's different. And by that point, it just gets awkward, and you try and salvage it, but by then it's too late. And so that's an everyday one, and that happens all the time. So I just get used to it now. I mean, I could just go in with an American accent, although it's pretty frail, I must say. So maybe they'll look at me like I'm an absolute madman, but it would probably get me further than using the accent, I say.
Author Josh Perry joins us in studio. TexAgs Radio, presented by Scott and White Healthcare. Our phone number, again, 693-1150. You got a quick question for Josh, you can call us. You can text in Commerce National Bank Inbox 229-1939. Give us kind of what you can. It's almost like talking to a coach about a scouting report before the game. You've got a book coming out on A&M football eventually. You're in the process of taking it all in and writing about it, and you blog almost daily, heck, sometimes multiple times a day at footballosophy.com. But what's the angle? What are you shooting for? What's the goal of this book? Are you hoping to sell it both in states and, as we say, abroad? Back home in England, and I guess this would be a good time to start writing about football in England with the NFL growing in popularity over there.
Yeah, I mean, when I came up with the idea, I didn't have any particular ambitions. It was more of the experience of doing it and going to another country and going into the middle of a state that I'd never been before, and a really unusual place to outsiders. From the outside point of view. I mean, as I was saying to these guys the other day, there was an episode of Top Gear, which is a big UK show, and they were driving around the deep south with slogans on their cars. I probably won't repeat them because they might not be suitable for a family show, but it was sort of along the lines of like NASCAR sucks, and it was just basically trying to rile the public, and they had like stones thrown at them and death threats, and they were chased down the highway, and so people have that sort of perception about the deep south, and I was really intrigued by that, and I wanted to sort of come here, and the book is very much just, it's not like a history book. It's very much with a twist, and all the history books about A&M have been written, and so I wanted something really unique and something that's very different from what's out there, and that's exactly what it is. It's essentially just a bloke from England coming over and writing what he sees, and obviously I'm on a modest budget, so some of the stories are quite interesting. So, and hopefully it makes people laugh, and then that's the way I like to write. I like to write in sort of like a comedic way, with a little bit of mirth and just a bit different. And in terms of the book going where it sells, I'll obviously come back over here and push it, and hopefully people like it, and that's the aim. And when back in the UK, obviously college football is really minute, and no one really knows about it. The like viewing figures, for example, aren't great, and people don't understand it. They see these stadiums that are full of 100,000 people, and they just think, that's crazy. It's not even a professional sport, and it's essentially kids just playing a sport, and people can't get their heads around that, and that's why I think people over in the UK will also find it interesting, because it's something different and unique, and people can't really get their heads around it. So hopefully, if an English person who wants to get into college sport and football in particular, then hopefully the book will be a good thing to read.
Well, you picked a good year for it, because I think even people over there know who Johnny Football is. And so, I mean, you picked the greatest player that's ever played here, and maybe the greatest that's ever played the college game. So that ought to help you sell it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that was the big key of me coming over. I mean, Johnny was the reason that I fell in love with the sport and A&M. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than watching him play football. And I would even broad that out to saying any sport I've even watched. Soccer, I grew up the biggest soccer fan. I was absolutely crazy about it. I mean,
Beckham sucks compared to Johnny. That's all I'm saying.
Why not? I mean, I'm on Johnny's. I'm actually on Johnny's bandwagon now. That's the thing. I want him to do so well, that's what drives me to write, and yeah, he's fantastic. What more can I say? And he's so exciting to watch. Out of any sport I've ever seen, if ever you wanted to watch one player do his thing, it's Johnny Manziel.
What do we miss, gentlemen?
No, I don't think we missed anything. Andrew, you got anything else?
I think we hit the big things in the time we have.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to read the final product. For me, it's all about different perspective, and I know that we as Aggies tend to take things for granted sometimes when we've got, this university right here in our backyard, and I think Aggies in general should cherish these last few games of Johnny Manziel, and you just never know, but I'm looking forward to the book and seeing what you have to say about your experiences.
I appreciate that.
When the book comes out, We'll have you back on and talk about it. It's going to be
Sounds-
great. And we've
sounds
got a
good to me.
video. If you guys want a little bit more information about Josh's journey, TexAgs.com tomorrow, Kegel. We're pushing that thing out.
Tomorrow.
That's going to
As
be
a
great.
side note, that was filmed the morning after Halloween, and I was not feeling too juicy, let's say that.
Oh, you were feeling juicy. Josh, thank you
comment.
so much, man.
Cheers, man. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
That's called a fist bump in the States. You know what I'm saying? All right. It's 8:34 on the Zone. We'll get away for a timeout. Now, before you get out, have you had Fargo's?
Not yet.
Okay,
no.
downtown Bryan, MLK, and Texas Avenue. Got to go to Fargo's Pit Barbecue, 720 North Texas Avenue, Josh. Without a doubt, the best barbecue in town, and voted one of the top 50 barbecue joints in the world by Texas Monthly, which knows a thing or two about barbecue. Clay would agree. This dude over here knows a thing or two about barbecue.
From Lockhart.
From Lockhart, Texas. I mean, they've got
gotta
about
try
3 of the top
Fargo's.
50, and he still says Fargo's is as good as it gets. So check it out. Fargo's Pit Barbecue, without a doubt, the best barbecue in town.